Hey everybody, good afternoon. Welcome to First Center for Spiritual Living. This is our self-healing class, which we have every Thursday night. If you're new to the class, you're watching on Facebook or Instagram, I'd like to invite you to send us a message and we'll send you an invitation to join us on Zoom. The reason Zoom is, I think, a better experience is that you're able to interact with us afterwards. And we meet on Sunday mornings at 10:45 also for a meditation, followed by a lesson, and then there's a chance for everybody to say hello and interact and share their thoughts. I've received a lot of positive messaging the past couple of months, and people are getting a lot out of the interaction. So I have a talk today. Initially, the idea came from Reverend Celeste, a friend of mine, Celeste Turkin in Boca, and she was using an acronym called ANT, which is stands for Automatic Negative Thoughts and Thinking, and how to deal with our. Sometimes we just have a lot of negative thought patterns, and so today we're going to give you some suggestions as to how to deal with them. Raymond Charles Barker, first of all, was the founder of this particular center. We used to be called the First Church of Religious Science in New York, and we were in Lincoln Center. And this happens to be the center where Louise Hay got her education, by the way, if you're new. And so her teachers started out right here with us, and were Raymond Charles Barker, then Stuart Grayson. And the book, You Can Heal Your Life, which everybody loves so much, which is probably the reason many of you came here to start with, came from learning the same ideas that we present here week after week. So the founder of this place, Dr. Barker, said, worry is the gestation period during which a negative situation is produced by our thoughts and appears in our experience as a problem. And when we have negative situations showing up in our life, it's always about thinking first. It's usually, habitual thinking it's almost like an open invitation to various challenges and problems. When we, in our minds and our thinking, our consciousness go, I'll say, to the low side of life, or we go negative, or we go dark, we go down, or however you want to language it. When we do that and we forget that each of us, when we're in this teaching, we come to realize our words and our ideas have power. But we forget that, and so we react to all kinds of things, and we worry, and we're not aiming high. We're not hitching our wagon to the stars. We're actually forgetting that you are, we'll say, God made manifest. You are one with the one and you have power, but we forget that, right? And we forget we're supplied and supported. So when we do this, the law, we call it the law of mind, the law begins to act upon our mistaken thoughts and beliefs. So if my opinion of myself is really low, and it's been low for a long time, it will be no coincidence that my life will reflect my low opinion. If I'm having that chicken little consciousness, which I play with that sometimes as an idea in classes, it basically, if I think the sky is falling and everything bad is happening to me, or any of those types of ideas, if they circulate within my thought processes or my consciousness, they will play out in my life. They will be reflected in my life. So we have a lot of these, in this lesson we call them, because of the acronym, we have a lot of these automatic negatives. And if you do, and you probably do, then it's time. You want to have a quickening in your life. Your life is not a dress rehearsal. You want to turn it around, and the good news is you can turn it around. For my lesson, I point out that none of us like to think of ourselves as negative thinkers, right? I mean, after all, you come into this teaching and you're involved in New Thought, And you don't like to think of yourself as a negative thinker. You'd like to think you know better, right? We have spiritual understanding here. We know how it works. So frankly, it can be disappointing to find ourselves reacting and spinning and reacting some more. And it can be upsetting and embarrassing. So it's embarrassing to realize how often you go negative. So we have a lot of these thought patterns, and as you come together in these classes week by week, we start to notice. The thing that I first noticed when I read the book You Can Heal Your Life years ago, Louise Hay would say, just pay attention to how often you use the word should. And then she said something that was kind of humorous. She said, just notice how often you use the word, because in most cases when we're using that word, you're making yourself wrong. You're telling yourself what you should have done or what somebody else should have done, or you're making somebody else wrong. And she said, if you notice you use the word 47 times a day, she said it might indicate a pattern of rigidity within you. And that got my attention when I first heard it, because I was using that word all over the place. So it's kind of like you being the controller, and and it's not particularly attractive. And the other thing is you're putting yourself down most of the time, if that's the type of thinking that's running inside of you, and it's off-putting to other people as well. So again, we're coming back to what is living within us. Do we have a lot of these automatic negative thoughts? And if so, what can we do with them? Well, if you think of an ANT, an automatic negative thought, my friend Celeste said, you want to stomp them out. And I said, I don't know about stomping ants, but I said, the idea definitely is you want to find a way to get rid of the worry thoughts, the negative thoughts, the habituated negative thoughts. These kind of thoughts are thoughts that we need to definitely find a way to release. We want to find a way to neutralize them and or stomp them out of existence and replace them with something that is true. We know this ANT, or this negative thinking, is a falsehood in our life, and we need to energetically replace it with something that's life-giving. Examples. I can say to myself, I am whole and complete. I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. I am supplied and supported. I am one with this one life. I can claim and exclaim that everything comes to me with joy, grace, and ease. I could say I'm loving and lovable. So when I'm going to a place where I'm devaluing myself or saying to myself, oh, you're a screw up, you're this, you're that, or you're thinking that way about someone else, you could tell yourself, you can basically neutralize the thought. You can say this is not true and replace it with an idea of truth. Whatever automatic negative or whatever conversation that is going on within your own self, wherever you're negating, wherever you're putting yourself down or you're putting someone else down, that's the thing that needs to be neutralized. We spend a lot of time working on what we think we know what other people should do, and that's really a big mistake. We have one of our members, practitioners, Agatha, who I've always loved for one reason, because I'll ask her how she is doing, and she'll say, fine, just like you. And she'll tell me she's working on the most important person, and it's a full-time job, and she'll say, I'm working on myself. See, if we were all a little bit more like Agatha, we'd have less problems, because Agatha knows that it's not Agatha's business to be focused on other people's business. And any of us who are involved in metaphysics, we really understand, we grow to understand eventually, that our problems and our opportunities are all within. There's a line from another spiritual book that I like the line, which is, in truth, There's nothing outside of you. So I create this whole world. I can create a world that's beautiful, and I can see beauty in it, and that could be my practice to see the good and the beauty. And if my eyes are trained to see the good and the beauty, if I develop a little bit of the mystical approach to life, I will see the good and I will see the beauty. If I do it the other way, if I'm coming from a place of fault finding in myself and in everyone else, that's where all the trouble starts, quite frankly. See, we're pretty good at seeing the blemishes in other people, and we can go there, right, in ourselves and society and our friends, our loved ones. And we're not really so great sometimes at seeing ourselves and paying attention to our own inner dialogue. The call for this class every Thursday is to take a pause, to become more mindful of what it's like being you. And by that I mean, what thoughts are you spinning? You know, what I mean by spinning, what thoughts are looping around inside of you? Are they ideas that I am peace, I am love, I am joy, I am beauty? Are those the types of thoughts that are going on within you? When we learn to look away from the negatives, and we learn how to neutralize the negatives and stomp them out, if you will, this is our goal, is to be aware first of these patterns of thought, to take a pause so we can see where we're going negative, right? And so we can release them. So this is the challenge, and this is the opportunity for this class, is to release and neutralize and dissolve the negatives. There's, excuse me, something in the room. Jimmy, would you please take care of? Okay, so as we learn to take care of the negatives, we can learn greater self-mastery. We have the ability to change and to have control over our attitudes about life and how we live it. We may think we're powerless over people, places, and things. I know there's a saying in many therapeutic groups and 12-step groups that they're powerless over other people's choices. And that's true. And hopefully you're learning that everyone is an individualization of life, and everybody's making all kinds of decisions all the time. I have power and dominion over my thoughts and my thinking, and that's where your power and dominion lies. Jimmy, would you please do me a favor? We have a little interruption with my dog here. Okay. There's power, and here's a list of good affirmations. I center myself in this one energy. I am aware of it. I sense this energy in me. I sense this intelligence in me. I am connected to this one energy. The awareness of this energy in me allows me to live in perfect peace and calm. My present moments and my circumstances are perfect, and my life is a perfect expression of spirit unfolding. I'm confident always, for I commune with and listen, and I depend on spirit within me to guide me to my good. I embrace change, knowing it's always the highest and best. Worry is a thing of the past. I live in today, not yesterday, or any time in the past. I live in the present. I accept limitless opportunities for good, and they come to me as I trust the process of life. I live freely, knowing all is well, despite appearances. I know that there is divine order in action, and action is the law of my life. There's an author that I was fond of years ago. I used to read all of his books, Jerry Jampolsky, and he had a statement. He had many great statements, but one of which was, I am never upset for the reason I think. We take in all the information from the outside world. You're watching the news program at night, which would be smarter if you let go of some of that, because news on the evening news is always sensational, but we take in all the information from our friends, from the news, from the podcasts, what people are saying, what's trending. We do all this. We take it all in, what the markets are doing, what's going on with inflation, and we're bombarded with it. It's quite sensational, and We take it in, and we take it personally too, because we look at how this is going to impact me and my money and my life. So most of us, many of us, are living in reaction to everything that's happening around us, and we can be somewhat controlled by all this data in this information world where there's tons and tons of information coming at us, and there's a lot of reaction. And that's really too bad, because each of you, if you really slow down a little bit and wake up to who you are an individualization of this God life, and you get to name things and define things and create a world, You don't have to react to everything, and yet we find ourselves reacting to everything. We give our power away all over the place. So it might be smart to slow down, to meditate a little bit more, to do a little bit more affirmative prayer, and remind yourself that all is well and that people are evolving. And they're doing just fine. They're not necessarily doing fine on your timetable or mine, but the whole world is growing and evolving, and so are you, so am I. And that's how Louise Hay could say all those years ago, all is well. Because she really got the fact that there is God in her life, and that there is this spiritual energy that's in everyone, unfolding perfectly and all the time. Because if we do it our way, if we're in reaction to everybody, we can wrongly conclude that the world out there, is working against you. And we might start blaming people, places, and things. And out of that, you can become fearful, you can become upset, you can become depressed. You can become many things if you're in reaction. And this teaching affords us an opportunity to be still. You've heard that expression, I believe it was Ram Dass, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that that power is within us, operating through us, as us. And so we want to turn down the dial and all that other stuff, and we want to pay attention to what it is that you're spinning within yourself. What automatic negatives just keep on being brought into today that have been with you for maybe too long. I'm fond of saying from many lessons, your life is not a dress rehearsal. This is really a magnificent thing. You have your life right now, and isn't it kind of a pity that we have to keep dragging in the past hurts and everything that someone's done? We have a tendency to bring it into the day you're in. It would be far more beneficial if we could let go of it. Maybe something happened with you and someone 3 years ago or 5 years ago, and it just seems to keep getting pulled into the present. Or you remember something, or how some church was done 10 years ago, or so how it was done, your job, your life, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever. You bring it into the present, and that very much shapes your present when you do that. If you're coming into a self-healing class, hopefully you're ready to change. Hopefully you're willing to let go of some of these ideas that have been holding you back, right? Our belief systems that we have will perpetuate the blame game. So if there's any place in you that's like going towards that place of blame, it's really a pity. Because you are caused your own experience, and so here comes that line again. I could see peace instead of this. I could give this person another chance, because, we're creating these things that go on and on and on, and they're robbing us of joy and happiness and peace. We have a tendency to perceive that the outside world is the cause of our problems, or some other person is the cause of our problems, and that's really rarely the case. And we live at the effect of people, places, and things, and that's too bad if you are, because you could definitely turn that around. This type of thinking is upside down, and it's backwards from a metaphysical standpoint. If you're coming into a teaching like this, we're going to encourage you to drop the negative thinking, drop the negative thoughts. We're going to encourage you to realize that you have this power available to you at your disposal, which you can use. We're going to suggest that you begin to realize that you are caused your own experience. And that doesn't mean you're to blame for anything. It just means your thoughts, your thinking are producing your life. And our thoughts, the tendency of our thoughts, show up in our life. Thankfully, they don't happen all at once. But the tendency of your thinking, you start to see, as within, so without. If you're kind of like going towards victim living and the blame game, what happens is that gets, over a period of time, weeks, months, whatever, it's reflected. That's why I use the Chicken Little. If you're coming from ain't it awful, people will get the message eventually and then just like pull away, because most people don't want to hang out with people who are, constantly in that place. And if you are there, certainly it's your right to be there, right? But you don't have to be there. Louise in her book would say, when we approach all these things, it's like cleaning a house. You begin where you are. If you're negative and you're being negative, you start to notice, my goodness, I'm critical and I'm being tough to do business with. So I want to release the need for some of that. And we begin the work on messaging with ourselves, more life-giving messages, and be more gentle with ourselves. And to the extent that we can be more loving and more gentle with ourselves, we will attract different people and situations into our life. So every thought we think is creating our future, at least the tendency of them are shaping our future. Thankfully, it's just a tendency of our thoughts. We have these old tapes, the way it was described to me 40 years ago. You think of a projector that's on a loop, right? We have these old tapes that play out like a movie in our life that keep getting projected again and again. And it's our internal state that keeps getting projected. And if you could reprogram yourself with more positive messaging, then your life experience is going to take shape, and what you're going to be projecting outwardly is going to be different. Your life experience will be different. When our minds are filled with upsetting thoughts, we keep looping around some version of ain't it awful and I'm a victim and life is not fair and I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too that, whatever it is. And we'll start to be creating a world that seems like it's working against us, and people are working against us, and we'll be missing the fact that we're creating it. When our mind is full of peace, when we have taken a pause, the world and the people in it appear to us as peaceful. So we can learn to wake up each day and be determined to see the good. You can wake up and develop positive expectancy. You can put on a new pair of glasses. There was a book in recovery by Chuck C. which was entitled A New Pair of Glasses. So you can be determined to do it a different way. And if you are open and you're willing, then you'll have the opportunity to do it. Our perception has always been the thing to change. Our perception is what you want to pay attention to. Thursday nights when we go around, we say, would you like to say where you're from and say hi? You can do that. You could also say, what it's been like being you. Because this week, if you've been upbeat and you've been self-loving, you've been giving yourself positive messages, you're starting to shape your consciousness, and you're starting to heal your life. We can use the power. Ernest Holmes said we have power available and we can use it. And what he was also saying, and has said in different places, is we use this power either constructively or destructively. So there's power for good in the universe, and we can use the power to control our inner world by choosing what kind of thoughts that we want to have in our mind. Peace of mind begins with our own thinking, and it extends outward. It's from our peace of mind, that's the cause, that a peaceful perception of the world arises, and that will be the effect. So it begins with me. It's from me having a peace of mind, that's cause, that's going to cause a peaceful perception of the world, and that's going to be an effect. You have the power to change. You have the power to heal your life, change your life. You have a lot of power. We have the power to direct our minds to replace the feelings of being upset, depressed, down, fearful. You can replace all that with an inner feeling of inner peace. I'm tempted to believe that I'm upset because of what other people have done or said, or other circumstances and events which seem beyond my control. When we're upset, no matter what it is, no matter if we're angry or we have contempt or we're jealous, we're resentful, actually all of these feelings represent some form of fear. And when I recognize that I've always have the choice between being fearful or experiencing more love, then I realize, I could see peace instead of this. I could extend love to others. Then I don't have to be upset by anything for any reason. Throughout my day, throughout any day, wherever we are, wherever we go, wherever we find ourselves being anxious or tempted to be fearful, you can remind yourself that you could experience love or you could experience peace instead of this. Fears are merely thoughts, and every thought can be released. There's a little checklist from the Louise material, which is, I'm afraid. You might ask yourself, what am I fearful of? Who am I fearful of? What am I fearful of? Am I afraid to leave my apartment? Are you afraid to start something new because you think you're going to be rejected? I was watching a show on the program this week. It was talking about what happens to you in your 60s and 70s. That was scary. And you can be watching things on, any type of program, and if you pay too much attention to them, you may be experiencing fear. Some people fear losing their abilities, their thinking, their health. Others are afraid of going out alone. Some people think that people make them afraid. What comes up for you around the subject of fear? Fear that you don't have enough or that you won't have enough. Fear about death and about sickness. How many of these or any of these sound like you? And what are the mechanisms behind fear? And the answer to that in our present lesson is that we always have a choice between going towards love and trust or slipping into fear. Many of us experience fear of change, fear of not changing, fear of the future. We even fear taking a chance. People fear intimacy. They fear being alone. We fear letting people know what we need and who we are, and we fear letting go of the past. And then on the other end of the spectrum of all these fearful thoughts, we have love. And love is the miracle that everybody's always looking for, and that's the thing, it's connection. So waking up each day and being determined to center yourself in the awareness of this loving energy and realizing I am part of this, that's going to be the antidote to all the fears. Loving ourselves and learning to love ourselves works miracles in our lives. It brings our health in our body. We're not talking about, romantic love. We're talking about having great respect for our bodies and live with a sense of gratitude for the miracle of our bodies, our minds, our awareness. Reminding ourselves when we're at all frightened that's really a reflection of not loving and trusting ourselves enough. So we want to put our energy and our attention today in today's lesson on developing a greater commitment to stomp out the automatic negatives. And I want you, as you review your week, just become mindful wherever you're going towards darkness or towards negativity. Please don't make that experience about other people, or please don't frame it about what somebody has done. What we are going for here is taking personal responsibility. If they got you, by that means no one really got you. If you've reacted to a person, place, or thing, just realize, okay, I gave my power away, and I don't have to do it that way. People are going to do what they're going to do, and that has nothing to do with you. What I'm responsible for and what I suggest in this lesson, you're the only thinker in your mind, and you get to respond intelligently using the power you have. You can be kind of a person where none of the things that people are doing or saying really has anything to do with you. That was the title of a book by Terry Cole Whitaker, by the way, which was entitled What You Do. No, what was it? No, you're quoting the wrong person. What you think of me is none of my business. So, we're not in here living our life seeking the approval of other people. We're here developing self-approval. There is a line from Louise, which is self-acceptance and self-approval are the keys to all positive changes. So that's what we're after here, is greater self-love, self-acceptance, and self-approval. And not necessarily looking for it from other people. Let other people be wherever they are. All of us are evolving. None of us are the same person we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. We're all experiencing lessons, and we're living our lives to the best of our ability. And we love, accept, and approve of ourselves, for the life we've lived and all we've learned. And we include everybody. We're just glad when people join us and they can join in this conversation. Every week we come together and we encourage people to begin the process of cleaning up their conversation, cleaning up the inner dialogue, releasing the negatives. Because when you really love yourself, and you clean up that within you, the fearful thoughts, the negatives, then you're going to find out all of a sudden that you're not having people problems in the same way, because you're putting the focus where the focus really needs to be, which is on you. And that's why I mentioned Agatha. She's always working on Agatha. And that's really the way any metaphysician or New Thought student operates. We work on our own consciousness. We do our work in mind. So on the other side of the break, you can say hi, where you're from, and what it's been like being you. Are you taking good care of yourself? Or if you're having a rough time and you need some support, please also tell us that. Thank you. See you in just a minute.